All right, we ready?
Yes.
Let's go ahead and let out a big old lion roar and let's grab our seats. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Roar! All right. So, was that good before?
Yes.
Did Andrea, we get something out of that one?
Yes.
And if you guys want to chat, if you could go to a different room. Yeah, Andrea, TJ, if you guys want to continue the chat, that's fine. Just go out there so that we can keep moving. Alexi's going to come up here, and I'm not going to say too much because you guys have had some chance to talk to him and get to know him a little bit since last night and through this morning. The one thing I'm going to say is, I'm not going to say too much because I know you're going to get into your story. Lexi is somebody who's pretty, I like the word unique, but it's a good way when I say it. Okay? It's a good unique. When you hear his story, you hear what he's been through. And you hear the timeline. For many people that experience what Alexi's gone through, that would have been it. There would have been no recovery, there would have been no coming back. They probably just would have curled up. Right? When I look at unleashing the inner lion, when I look at finding your lion self, when I look at people and are they truly doing what they want to do, or is it what they feel like they need to do, right? Lexi's like the perfect example of somebody who is doing something because they want to do. What I mean by this, the very first time I met Lexi was I was telling you guys last night, it was at an event that I was at in January, right? Of everybody in the room, the guy's one of the highest earners. Talent-wise, knowledge-wise, he was one of the other ones, like myself. He's kind of at the top of it all. Yet he was there for one reason and one reason only. And it was to support the person who was putting the event on. When him and I got to know each other and started talking and started looking at some stuff, and I threw it out and I said, hey, I'd love to have you come speak at this event. And he goes, well, I don't want to just come and show up and speak. I'd love to be able to come and tell my story and help inspire and help give them a blueprint of what he's used to achieve the success that he's used. He goes, I want to be there the whole time. And I want nothing more than to be there to make sure that it's the best experience for them and it supports you. Now, people only do that because they what?
They care.
They care and they want to, right? There's a ton of things that he could be doing this weekend other than hanging out here with us. Right? He could have came this morning, give you what he's about to give you, which is amazing information, and then gone back to doing what he's got to do. Instead, he chose to take the entire weekend out of his life and say, you know what, I'm here for one thing, and that is support everybody here, including myself, and make sure that it is the best that it can possibly be. That, to me, is like the true definition of somebody who's unleashed their inner lion, right? That leader. Not that he's above me or that I'm above him, but he understands what it means to lead and create, right? That kind of pride. And bring everything together and make sure that everybody from the top all the way to the bottom is getting their grub, right? Getting their food. So I'm gonna kind of challenge you guys to pay attention when he tells this story. Not just to the glitz and the glam and the highs and the lows, but think about that, the ages, the timelines, what it really is like, and what it's come back to. And then when he delivers the how he got back to where he's at now, make sure you're tuned in. Because the first time I heard it, the first time he kind of explained this piece to me, it was, even for someone like myself, it was life-changing. Right? It was a big eye-opener to some of the more how pieces. Okay? Now, he does call it a millennial success blueprint. And I know some of us in this room are not millennials. Don't let that push you back, right? He'll explain why he calls it the millennial success blueprint. So If you guys could give Lexi a big round of applause.
Well, first and foremost, I want to congratulate you for being here. One of the greatest things in the world that I cherish and honor in others is their time. Because time is one resource none of us can get back once it's spent or invested. So I want to thank you for that, for showing up, for keeping your word, and stepping into your greatness just by being here. I begin every speech with these words. I've gotten to where I've gotten myself, but not by myself. It's a very big key difference. And it took me a while to learn that it's good to learn by yourself, but when you can stand on the shoulders of giants, your opportunities, your impact changes. My story began at a very small town halfway across the world. I was originally born in a small town called Drushkovka in Donetsk, which used to be USSR. And I had a pretty good life as a kid. My dad owned a farm, and my mom started her career in sales. She actually used to just sell at the store. And then eventually greater opportunities came her way because she was honoring her craft, and she moved up. And when serial entrepreneurs talk about that first business, I could never think of one that I started, but I know that I'm a serial entrepreneur with everything that I've started and moved forward with. And it wasn't until this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning that the aha came to me because of this event. So not only do I get to serve, but I also get to receive. That's a very important piece when you teach. To me, I remember the moment when my dad, one of his side businesses, was selling soda because he had a lake right in front of his farm. And people would come and they would buy soda and drinks and stuff. He said, Alexei, if you bring me back 8 bottles, empty bottles, I will replace it with 1 full bottle of soda. And back then, a bottle of Coca-Cola was a dream of every kid. It was something new and rare, and it was a big thing. And whether he did it consciously or unconsciously, he also said, if you bring me 8, I'll give you 1. If you bring me 15, I'll give you 2. I said, okay. If you bring me 16, I'll give you 3. That was a little bit more interesting. And I don't know if it was a conscious thing that he did, but what it made me do, not only was I learning a business skill, where when you know that's what something is worth, that somebody may consider even as trash, it can make a difference in your life. Whether it's a business opportunity or a real estate one, when you go into a home and you see the potential, not just the broken pieces, that's where you create your own success. And the second lesson that I learned from that small venture of mine was that when I got a few kids together and they would bring me additional 8 bottles, and I would add just 1 or 2 of my own, and took those bottles all together, now I had enough not only for me, but for others. My life moved on, and at this point I was about 12 and a half. And honestly, laying this morning and thinking about my experience, if I were to go back with my mindset right now, I honestly don't know if I would have made the choice. And the choice was this. My mom said this to me when I was 12. She said, I would like for you to have the greatest education that I can afford. And at this point, we can sacrifice, but I can afford sending you overseas. I cannot send you to England because English schools were the best, but they were also the most expensive. But we had another offer. We had friends of our family that lived in South Africa, which used to be in English colony. So they still had English schools, but the actual investment for that education was a lot less. And my mom asked me, would you like to go? And I don't know what pulled my leg at that time or myself to move forward and to take that step into my greatness, but I said yes. This was at 12 years old, going halfway across the world, changing 3 planes, being in 3 major, huge international terminals by myself. To arrive at a country that I didn't know, with a language I did not speak. Honestly, for 2.5 weeks, I don't know why I was there. I was just sitting and doodling, because I didn't understand anything. But before I knew, after those 2 weeks were gone, I started understanding something. And that meant I was progressing, I was growing. But what that opportunity helped me do is help me to learn, how do you connect with people without a language to get what you needed, whether it's for your survival, and in a way that was my survival, and for your growth. So that's when I learned how to deal with people. And I didn't do it overnight. It's a life journey. And I still practice it now till this day. I'm always learning more and more. How do I connect with people? How do I inspire them to the greater level? After my learning growth was finished in South Africa, in just short 2 years, the friendship of our family was dissolved because of money. They borrowed money from my family and they were not able to repay it. So therefore, the relationship broke down. So a quick tip for you guys, if you want to test your friendship or relationship, let them borrow $1 and see how they act. Because it's not about the amount, it's about the actual act. But when one door closes, another opens. I had the opportunity to come to California, to a military school. In Russia, it's a very big privilege to be part of a military school. When I arrived here, I realized that wasn't quite the case. In the US, all the bad kids get sent there. But hey, that was my path. And by choosing to still stay in my greatness, with just a year and a half, I became the highest ranking cadet that basically led the whole middle school. And if I would have stayed at that school, they were talking about me becoming the battalion commander, which means running the whole corps of cadets, which were 300 kids, and making sure that they're okay, that they're safe, and they're taken care of. From that point on, at about 16, I started my first business. And it wasn't anything big, but it was something that put money in my pockets. I started repairing and building computers. It was a good business. It made me some good money. But I realized that eventually I'm not going to get far with that business because it was taking a lot of my time. And I also needed to make sure that my grades were up to par because I couldn't be wasting my parents' money, especially if they're sacrificing. So I had good grades and a good business. And then my mom came to me and said, hey, at this point she actually owned about 10 pharmacies in Russia, in Moscow. And she said, listen, I know you're into computers. What if we start this hobby thing? And build an online version to our company. And I said, okay, let's do it. I was about 18 at this point. And at that time, she says, I don't think it's going to bring much money because our pharmacy business is what supports you going to school, but maybe it'll be some pocket money for you. What we didn't know then is that I was to build with my family the first disruption company without even knowing. Nobody knew what a disruption company is, but we came into the pharmacy space from a level of consumer. We said, okay, the pharmacies have really bad software that they're using to connect with the pharmaceutical companies. What if we create a software that's good? And not like the other companies that are in the market, what if we make it free? Free software, free support. And all that we would ask them if they really loved the support at the end of 6 months, that they would give us a shot and order through us, which we collected a small commission from the pharmaceutical companies, and the rest is history. In about 2 years, the company went 6 figures. In about a year after that, went 7. And it stayed about at 8 figures for the last 15 years, maybe longer at this point. So here was my dilemma. I was in my early 20s. I was making more money than most. I was living in a multi-million-dollar home. I had my dream cars in the garage. I had a beautiful fiancée. And yet inside, I knew something was wrong. My multi-million-dollar home very quickly became my prison. That money was worthless. My fiancée walked away. And within 6 months, it was very interesting because all of a sudden, when I started feeling it, and I was just pushing away, life made me pay attention. Within 6 months, my fiancée walked away. My business got embezzled that I was starting at that time, which sucked all the cash out of the business, which nearly collapsed it. And it would have created a domino effect of my other businesses, where I would have lost the house, lost the cars, and potentially hurt the original business that seeded the other businesses. And I had a legal action brought against me, not because of my fault, but it's something that I still had to do. And when something like that happens within 6 months, maybe even shorter, it takes a toll. And I ended up getting into some serious depression. And because at that time, I really couldn't say why I was in that state or why I was even doing what I was doing anymore, because it did not make sense, even though I was making all this money. I ended up being almost clinically depressed. I spent almost 3 weeks in my bed without being able to get out of it. I'm talking about, it's almost like a coma. I mean, I was awake, I was present, and yet when I would tell my body to move, whether my arm or my leg, they would not respond. And I can still remember to this point, it wasn't about me and me needing water or needing food, but watching my dog and knowing that my dog needed food. My dog needed to go out and do his business. He needed water. That brought tears into my eyes. That was more than I can handle. And that's when, for the first time ever in my life, I thought, well, maybe suicide can be an option. Because nothing's keeping me here. Yes, I make good money, but I still feel alone. I don't have anything good in my life. At that point, to me, as I said, money became really worthless. And when somebody would see a dream life, to me, that was my jail cell and a jail sentence. It was after those 3 weeks, I ended up finding some tapes from a mentor. Well, I didn't know it that back then, but somebody who was going to become a mentor and help me rebuild my life. The funny story is that I've actually had 3 copies of her product given to me a year before. And every copy, either I lost or something happened with it that I couldn't find it. And I was not going to go to a mentor of mine that was kind enough to be keep giving me these $500 products to go back for one more. Because she's already given me $1,500 worth of education. Granted, it was the same thing, yet I lost it. So I just stopped asking. And it was when I finally was able to get out of the bed, that was the first thing that I actually saw, sitting in plain sight, and I could not understand how for a year I could not see it. It was literally sitting right there. And I sat by that piece of content for a year and wasn't able to receive it, or even see it, for that matter. And to me, that's what really started this journey, and actually the idea of Aura altogether. Aura stands for one relationship away from the life of your dreams, or the impact that you want to create in the world. See, for me, Aura was all about impact. I had the money. I didn't need it. But I did want to create a greater impact. That was the reason. And choosing to go down that path, I started looking at what was working in my life. And there were some principles that I actually used for years in my business development that started making some sense when it came to my personal life. And that's exactly what I'll share with you today. Somehow the name came up, I just heard it. And it was called the Millennial Success Blueprint. And just like Sean said, yes, I understand you're not millennials. Even though my heart goes out to millennials because I think they are unfairly set up for life. They have debt in school without jobs to support it. They're lost. And that's my heart mission, to help them, to guide them, to be a guidepost or even a guide. But the second meaning to that is actually goes deeper. This system is principle-based. It's not based in theory, and it's not based in tactics. It's based in principles. So that, therefore, these principles have been around for millennia. And they will, if you allow them, they will not only change your life, but keep that change going for a millennia. That's what I truly believe. And yes, I didn't come up with these principles, but there's just something special that I've been hearing from my clients and my partners when I share it with them, that even though it's similar, but it's completely different the way I was able to organize them. And to be honest, it wasn't because I was smart, it came from above. That's the best way I can explain it. Actually, before I get into the principles, there's a video that I want to share with you. And I want you to pay attention and see what lessons you can take from it.
As they mature, young males begin to explore the boundaries of the pride's territory. Red has ventured out alone. And blundered straight into the middle of the hyena clan. by over 20 of them. The pack tries to wear him down. This number of hyenas could kill him. It's impossible to fight them all at once. He can't keep them at bay for much longer. He's tiring fast. His ally, Tartu, has heard the commotion. Now the odds have changed. Even for 20 hyenas, a pair of male lions is too much to take on.
You are a powerful being. You're powerful as a lion. And yet when we come together, we become unstoppable. That is one of the biggest lessons that I learned on my path. And that's why I choose to teach what I teach. How do I create a tide that will raise all boats? And I truly believe that the Millennial Success Blueprint is that thing that will raise the tide. Just like Sean said, whether you're just beginning your journey or you are at the peak of it, I promise you, if you take in this information and you allow it, it will change your business and, more important, your life. Let's get into the principles. Principle number 1 goes as following. One of the things that I've noticed after working with thousands of professionals is this. They're all somewhere. That's how their path looks. They're walking, but they're walking around something. And what is that something? To me, I call it a person's heart. Or if you want to call it a lion heart. That's principle number 1, finding your heart. We talked about lions roaring as being one of their most powerful tools that they have at their disposal. We have lions right here in front of us. What are you roaring about? What is your core message? What is it that you're willing to not only live for, but to die for? For me, my core message is that you're one relationship away. I believe one genuine relationship, like in my case, can save a life. Because to me, it was my best friend at that time who took care of my dog and said, I see you're going through something. Let me help. And somehow I let them. Because I tend to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, at least before I did. And that brought me to depression and suicidal thoughts. So I knew that there had to be a better way. So what is in your heart? What is that core message? And if you're having trouble coming up with that message, what have been some of your biggest challenges? Because I believe challenges, they're there for you. They're not to stop you, but to guide you. What if for a moment you were to suspend your belief that things happen to you? Well, actually, things don't happen to you. They happen for you. What if you were to believe that? And every setback wasn't a setback, but a setup for you to step into your greatness. I know that many people that I get to help and work with, once they discover that, they become unstoppable. So, what is that message? Think about it. And if you can't come up with something, just pick something first. Just to step forward or to step back. Because a step forward or a step back still creates movement. And that creates a difference in your life. So once you know what your heart is and where you're going, the destination, the next biggest, most important thing, which is principle number 2, is finding your head. What does that mean? Finding your head is finding a teacher or a mentor that is already where you want to be. They have the map, right? There's different ways to get to a destination. You can drive, asking for directions, and finally get there at some point. Or you can actually go into a gas station and buy a map, which will help you get there quicker. Or why not just put the address into the destination, right? And here's the key. Because if principle number 1 is not fulfilled and you don't know the destination, the GPS is worthless. See, for me, this was really partially inspired by a mentor of mine who said, you are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. But see, when I was depressed and suicidal, I couldn't find 5 people. That was too much. I needed to know what was that one thing that would make all the difference. And that's exactly what is built into the system. If you're not clear on your why or on your purpose, that's where you spend most of your time. That's where you invest most of the time. Once you know the destination, at least clearly enough to proceed, you find a mentor that's already there. Allow them to guide you. One piece right here, I was speaking to a mentor of mine, and he said the following: don't seek advice, seek counsel. Can anybody tell me what's the difference?
Advice is what your friends and family give you that have no idea. Counsel is finding the person who's exactly where you want to be and just learn from them.
That's exactly right. Opinion is from somebody that has never done it, and they're giving you their ideas, what may work or may not. When it comes to wise counsel, it's from somebody that's already done it, and they go, yes, you can do it, make sure to watch out for that, that, and that. They know where the potholes are. Even though, yes, it may cost you time or money to get into a relationship with a good mentor, it's worth its weight in gold, because they will save you time. See, one of the things that, and I was sharing with one of you, and I'm not sure who, but I was saying one of the biggest things when it comes for me to work with a client is that I asked them one question. Are you the type of person that spends time to save money or spends money to save time? Because that is a mind shift. If you're going to spend all your time, which is your most valuable resource, and then it saves you a little bit of money, great. You can always make more money. You can never make more time. So that's principle number 2. And when it comes to mentors, I have found that there's 3 types of mentorship available. Well, they were available to me, and they're as following. So there is 3 types of mentorships that is available to you. There's shadow. That means you are in their shadow. You can be consuming their content, their books, their seminars, everything. Right? The next most important piece is a gap mentor. A gap mentor is somebody that's already learning from the person. They've invested energy, time, and money, but is a greater way to use your resources. Let me give you an example. One of my strategic mentors, a company that I'm modeling, is Tony Robbins' organization. So for me, Tony Robbins would be in this spot right here. Somebody that's a gap mentor could be in his platinum program, which is his mastermind. Right? I can pay for Tony's time, which is about $1 million for the year, or I can invest time and energy with somebody that's already learning from him, that's already paid him $100,000. I can rise to him by adding value, and then together we can rise a lot faster using the principle of shared economy. That's how you strategically do it. Principle number 3 is this. Is finding your legs. And what does that mean? Finding your legs is finding at least 2 people that you can give back to. Teach. See, by teaching them, you're giving, and at the same time, they're giving you the gift of depth of knowledge. Just as Sean was saying, there's a giver's gain. Even energetically wise, I don't know how it happens or why, I just know it does. When you give, much is given to you from above. There have been many times where I meet somebody, even on the street, there's no way they can afford my rates. And yet I choose to invest my time into them. All of a sudden, a mentor that I've been dreaming about shows up in my life. And I create a relationship with them like we've known each other for a while. And I'm going, how is this possible? It is because I choose to give. Once you have a mentor, the next biggest thing is being able to have your legs. And this is how God showed this to me. The first thing when a child is born, or when life is created, you have the first heartbeat. Then their first thought. They become an individual. With their legs, now they're able to crawl. With principle number 4, which is your arms, now you have the ability to walk. Because what do arms help you do? Balance. And in my system, finding your arms represents finding your strategic partners. See? For me, when I went to that workshop, I wasn't there. Well, I'm always there to learn. But at the same time, I'm always looking for those people that make all the difference, not only in my life, but in the impact that I'm looking to create. And this is where Sean showed up. And I didn't even know it until we obviously got a chance to hang out, and then next time we talk, he goes, "Would you like to come and speak?" And I was honestly honored, and I told him right away, "You've earned my trust and my respect, so I will give you my time," which is one thing that I can never get back. I'm very particular about. I don't spend my time unwisely. I always invest it. Last but not least, the fifth principle is this. And that's connecting them all together. Connecting your heart, your head, your legs, and your arms. That becomes your pride. That is your inner circle. The inner circle protects you from being able to jump further, higher, and faster without the additional risk. Because the mentor will provide the knowledge, the strategic partners become the clarity, and the legs will allow you to run. This becomes your inner circle, or pride. And here's what actually happens in real life when it comes to income or business. And when it comes to applying this to a business, it is the same principles. You have your mission of your company. You have a mentor that's guiding you. You have your super fans, people that love your products, or your raving fans, same thing, and your strategic partners. Do you see how simple and yet complex it can be and powerful? But here's what happens when it comes to income. So here you have the 98%. Or at times I actually call them the walking dead. 9 to 5. They walk through their life like nothing happens. Same thing day in and day out. Then day in and day out. You have active income. And that means that you're trading your time for money. Even if whether it's a doctor or a lawyer. I have a lot of them as clients. You know, they have a very expensive job. And they pay just as much in taxes. If they don't know what they're doing. Then, when you start putting this into place, you start your awakening. By putting these pieces into place, this is being number 1 to 5. You should be at about 6 figures. If all the pieces are in place and they're working correctly. And if you're not, I would invite you to do the assessment, which I'll talk about in a little bit, to know where's your greatest opportunity for growth. See, for me, there are no challenges, there are only opportunities for growth. That's how I choose to see it. There are no failures, there's opportunities to win or to learn. Here's how you go from awakening to empowering. Is this. Principle number 6 books or IP, content. When you have the structure in place and now you add this piece, content, learning, this is called an accelerator. Think of it's almost like pouring gas on a fire. What happens? It starts growing. When it comes to principle number 7, it's the people. Who are the people that you're meeting? Who are you networking with? How are you networking? Are you going to masterminds, events? Are you speaking? Are you meeting people one-on-one and one-on-many? That becomes your second accelerator. And the third accelerator is right here, which is 8, and I call it M2. And that stands for multiple mentors, or it also stands for content mentors. For example, if here I have Tony Robbins as my strategic mentor, here I have multiple other mentors. Like Mike Dillard, he's my email mentor. Penn June, he's my social media mentor. Physical fitness mentor. Or health mentor. Now you're starting to go wide very quickly with the knowledge. And see, the interesting thing that I have seen that happens, when you have better books, you connect with better people. And when you connect with better people, they recommend better content. When you meet better people, they recommend better mentors. Better mentors recommend better IP. And now, if this creates your wheel, this puts gas. This is almost like having nitrous in your car, if anybody knows about nitrous. It literally doubles the power of your car. And that's exactly what will happen. Principle number 9 is this, and that's the final principle. It's called legacy. And that's 9. Legacy speaks of this. You become the person that creates the content. You create the groups, like a mastermind. You become the mentor of the mentors. See, one of the things that I've shared with you, and I don't teach anything that I do not do. For me, I shared with you that my biggest fear is not meeting my own dreams and desires and my legacy. And going on this journey, I heard this number, and it scared the shh out of me.
You can say it.
Shit? You mean? Yeah. I heard that before my time is done, I'm responsible for impacting 1 billion lives. I just want you to take a moment and think about that. If my dream is that big, what can yours be? Does your dream, does your why scare you? Because if it doesn't, you're choosing to play a small game. You're choosing to be a kitten or what was the other word that was used? A cub versus being the lion. See? When you are on this journey, and I've had many of these moments, the devil will come to you and he will say, you cannot withstand the storm. You can't get through this challenge, or the opportunity of growth, as I call it. You're done. Stop. See, but what I say, because I'm the warrior of the light, I am the storm. See, the thing about the storms is very interesting, is that when you are just on the the outside of the storm, right? Just like Sean was talking about, right here, you're in the most dangerous place. And yet when you choose to be in the middle of the storm, peace, calmness, but you are the storm. Or there, I invite you to be the storm. The lion that's roaring at the top of the mountain. Sharing what is the most important impact that you want to create. Because that will drive this whole thing. That will bring the right people to you. Right opportunities will guide you. Even if you're not fully sure where is it that you need to be in life, check in with yourself. What gives you more energy? What takes away your energy? When it comes to people, this is the hardest lesson that I had to learn. I love people. I truly love people. And most people that actually know me for a while, they would probably tell you that I love people to my own fault. My heart at times is too big. And that's actually part of the reason how I ended up in depression and even suicidal thoughts. I spent a lot of time with the wrong people. And one of the things that that mentor that rebuilt me said, quit helping the needy, help the deserving. Get your oxygen first, and from abundance, teach, train, and guide. See, there's a difference between a cub or even a regular lion that's right here and a great lion. A great lion always remembers to look above at the stars, to remind him that there were lions that came before him. But he also is smart enough to look below or behind them to see his team and who he is leading, who he is responsible. I truly believe that leadership is actually service. There's a difference between dictatorship and leadership. Dictatorship pushes you. Leadership invites you, inspires you to do more, to be more. And one of the things that I believe with a proper lion and a proper leader, the team feels safe. Simon Sinek has a lot of amazing talks on this, that numbers actually prove it. The fact is, when your team feels safe, and like the leader has their back, they will work themselves for that leader or for that cause exponentially harder. The second they feel unsafe, or that the lion doesn't have their best intentions at heart, you are done. You'll have a lot more turnover. You'll have customers that are just lukewarm versus raving fans that just drive your business. For me, I built an 8-figure business in consulting just simply through word of mouth. People knew that my word was law. And if I said something, I was actually known in the industry, one of the few people that did a contract with a word and a handshake. To me, that was good. And even if somebody after the fact said, hey, you said this, even though I know that I didn't say it, I was always the person that would fulfill their word or the words of me. But at that time, I knew that I could not trust that person, and I would give them what they were asking for and then walk away. Because I knew that they were not in a giving state, that they were looking to take more than I was able to give or willing to give. I also shared with a few of you about my 8-figure exit out of my company. And it was actually very unique. And it goes into this. My companies or my CEOs, my original company did really well. But what I ended up doing was this. And it was honestly because of my mom's guidance. Because she's obviously a a better or more seasoned entrepreneur than I am, and she actually taught me this skill of saying, hey Lexi, what if we give him 51% of the revenue share? Have them be the responsible parties for building our brand, building our company. We'll be on the advisory board, we'll still own 100% of the company, but they literally eat from what they kill, and they get the first taste. I was okay with that, because that is when I learned. When I did that, I freed my time. I ran my 8-figure company with 4 hours a month. 1 hour a week. We meet for high level. And that's one of the things that I actually learned when it came to this process, when I was really learning. And a couple of people keep coming to mind, which are mentors of mine, is Richard Branson and the gentleman that you mentioned yesterday, real estate mogul. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Grant? No, not Grant Cardone. One thing.
Huh?
One
Oh,
thing.
Gary Keller.
Gary Keller. And the question that kept coming up in my mind, what's the difference between them and me? They're a businessman and I'm a businessman. They have a business and I have a business. How the hell they're earning the money that they're earning and creating the impact that they're creating? Well, I am doing what I'm doing. And the answer actually came from Gary Keller. When I was working with him and studying with him, he said this. He asked me what business he was in. I said, you're in business of real estate. You build Keller Williams. And he said, that's where you're wrong. He said, I'm in the business of succeeding through others, not in the business of real estate. The only time that he uses his time for is inspiring people and coaching them to their greatness. That's how he has been able to build a multi-billion-dollar business and create an impact that has changed so many lives. And I started thinking, well, how can I implement more of that? And to me, combining the lesson of being able to free my time. So now what I do with Aura is only 3 things. High-level business education for a very minimal cost, group coaching and mentorship at a medium cost, and a partnership at the end of the journey. If they go through the education and the mentorship and there's a great fit for the company, I will choose to invest. And therefore, we can build something greater and get paid on the back end, fixing the problem of the education system. Because to me, when I had my darkest moments, I went into personal development head deep. In about a year and a half, I invested over $250,000 into my own education and my peace of mind. And I understood not everybody was in that position. So to me, part of the idea of Aura was born then. What if I can take all that I've learned, share it with people, and charge them 10% of what I spend? And for me, I don't take on a client unless my fees will result in 90% result for them. For example, if they're choosing to create not 100 million, but 100,000 in their life or their income, my fee is 10,000. If they're looking to create a business that's $250,000, my fee at that point is 10%, which is 25,000, and 10% of the revenue. Why do I say that? Because I'm leveraging my time. I want to make sure that if I am helping somebody, I have motivation to help them, and I have a stake in the company to do that. And I don't want their actual equity. I am just asking for their income. So if I'm able to bring you partnerships and ideas, grow your business, would you be okay with giving me 90%? And most say, hell yes. And those who say, that's expensive, I say thank you for sharing, goodbye. Because I know what my time is worth. And I hope so do you. Now I have a quick moment to do a quick exercise. It's very simple, but it's very powerful. Go ahead and write down 1 through 5 on your paper or your book. And take a minute to write down the 5 people you choose to spend most of your time with. Is everybody done? So, to those who are obviously, you guys are new to this concept, and it's actually something that I've never taught publicly before. I've always only taught these concepts to my private clients that pay me above of 25,000 and above, that I would reveal this system. And what you've experienced is the awareness state, right? Putting all the pieces together. And that was the first version of that skill right there, of that exercise. Now you just created awareness. Who are the 5 people that you spend most of your time with? Now once you take it to the competency level and write down how much time do you actually spend with them. Go ahead and do it now.
How much time weekly, monthly?
On average, you can use either weekly or monthly, whatever is easier for you. It's all about the ratios at the end of the day. And last but not least, and maybe the most important piece, because I believe the quality of our language designs the quality of our life, and taking it to the mastery level, what do you talk to them about in that time? Are you speaking to them about your goals, dreams, desires, your business, the opportunities for growth? Or are you complaining and sharing what's not working and hearing them out dump their own emotional stuff onto your plate and table? Which brings me to completion of the last point. One of the biggest things and the hardest things that I had to do for me was to cut out the people in my life. And to me, that meant family. I know that they love me, but they did not see this. They wanted me to go back to school, to finish my degree, to get a job. They're still asking me, when are you going to get a real job? So, which is funny, but it's okay. Because they don't have your vision. They don't see what you see. And so there's only two types of people should be left in your life. Or actually, one type of people should be left in your life. There's two types of people. And it doesn't mean that they're bad or they don't love you. All it means is this. If there is a person in your life that's supporting you, helping you to take a step forward, you keep them. If not, you take a step back from that relationship and you love them, but from afar. And if they need your help, not every day BSing, but actually need your help, you be there for them. Because that's part of giving. When you put the oxygen mask on yourself first, now you're able to show up greater for those that are around you. When you're full within, you can share from fullness and truly give from the heart. And to see the structure, how it may work also in business, to me, this is one of my company. I'll just put HP for pharmacy company. The CEO is right here for me. And he has his. Also, business development. I'm mentoring also a gentleman who will head on my coaching division and business development. There is a couple of more levels, but I'm going to leave it at that. And for those who implement this, well, let me teach you one more quick piece of the assessment, which gets you to the competency level. Each strike right here divided into 10 pieces, and then score yourself. Let's say this is a 2, and this, and here you have a 4. Here's the importance of the system, of this system, is this. Even though this is a 2, which is low number, but you have a 3 priority right here. So until this is a 7 or a 10, you focus here first, and here second. Because the highest priority will always win. And unless it is at a 7 or a 10, that's where your greatest opportunity for growth is. And last but not least, to take you to the mastery level, is this. Once this whole system is working, you're doing the assessments, you're hitting everything on board, you do this. You add legs first, additional legs, or students, or mentees, and then eventually you add arms after that to support the additional weight of balance. Very few times where you will upgrade your strategic mentor if he's good enough. But I have upgraded 3 already. For me, the person that rebuilt me, she's amazing and I love her. And yet I was meant to create a company that was similar to hers, not be in her company. Then I ended up going to Tony Robbins because that's the type of scale I want to play at.
Yeah.
And that is your Millennial Success Blueprint. I'm here the rest of the weekend if you guys have any more questions. But if you just take this and implement it, I truly believe that your success will be on autopilot. There is no way that you can fail. Because with this structure, and this becomes your circle of influence. That's outside your pride or your inner circle. I'm talking about Sean, right? Synchronicity. When he sent me the name of the event, because he asked me to speak and he said, I'll send you the details later. I said, great. And I get the email, it goes, unleash your inner lion. And I'm going, you gotta be shitting me. Because my group coaching is called The Pride. Sorry. My group coaching is called The Lion's Den. The Lions of Industry are there to share their wisdom. The mastermind level is The Pride. And my partnership is called The Roar. Allowing individuals to roar. And so, if that's not synchronicity, I don't know what it is. And I'm done.
Got a few minutes for questions if you want.
Okay. I'm open to questions, clarifications, and
Mentors,
yes.
which I'm a big believer in. You know, you have to have them, or else you're going to be beating your head against the wall trying to learn everything stupid.
You don't have to have them, you can choose to have them, right?
Choose.
That's also languaging, right? I've actually heard you a number of times say, I have to, I have to, I have to. And the truth is you don't. You're a powerful being that can choose to do something or not to do something.
Sure. I talk to my kids all the time about choices. The choice you make today, the choice you make right now, the choice you future, the choice you just made. So, all right. Mentor, shadow, gap, direct. Shadow.
So shadows, like let's say if you don't know Sean, but you can pick up his book, which is amazing. Once I get a copy. No, I'm just kidding. But being able to consume even social media content, right? If you don't have the ability to pay for mentorship, that's your best bet in the beginning. Even if you're just paying for their program, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure this is a lot cheaper than working one-on-one with Sean. But this gives you an exponential boost, right? That's being part of a group. That's also, in a way, in a shadow, right? Gap is working with somebody that Sean has trained, and you can see that they have the results that you're looking for.
Got it.
Or they're on their way, and they're being still mentored by Sean. Like to me, one of the things when it comes to mentors, I always find out who are they learning from. And if a mentor tells you that they know everything, might want to think twice.
Yes.
And I've shared with somebody as well, unless their mentor is willing to release it, their sources, they're still in their ego, they're hiding. They're coming from lack, not abundance. See, to me, I can tell you every mentor. It was Gary Keller and a bunch of other people that inspired this. There was another mentor that confirmed this piece. Because here's the thing. You just have to start walking in the direction of your greatness. You don't have to arrive there right away. Because the Millennial Success Blueprint would have never looked like this if I were to show you the original things that came to me. Were nowhere close or detailed as this. But by choosing to have the legs, and teaching, all of a sudden they go, did you see that? I'm like, no. Or every time I would teach it, I go, there's another piece that I've learned or that I know that came out, and all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, I need to make sure that I keep that piece along with them. Like, this piece was never here. This piece was not always there. Like, even the structure itself. So just start walking towards your greatness.
Those are direct.
Yes, those are direct to you.
No, the where it says direct, gap, direct.
Yes, shadow, gap, and direct, meaning he's directly coaching you.
All right,
Sean.
so yeah, that's all right. So that's the higher level mental. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like Tony Robbins. We're saying.
Yes.
Like Tony Robbins books, and someone in the mastery course.
Yeah.
And the mastery.
Yeah. Well, I would jump a little bit higher than the mastery. I would jump to his mastermind, which is platinum partnership. But that would be my advice for a gap mentor if you were talking to Rob as being your strategic mentor.
Got it. Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
So it's a big gap when someone has a family, when someone's working and they have, they're working for corporate America, whatever they're doing, or sacrificing their time. So how does someone bridge that gap to start? You just can't just say screw the world and you got all.
No, I completely agree with you, and this is where this piece comes in. I really didn't spend much time on it because I felt it was more to serve you to share with you the whole thing. Is that 98% they're all inactive, right? That's where most of their income is, right? And most ratios for 98% of people, that's where their income comes from, right? When you're becoming an awakened, one of the other things that comes into your ability is leveraged income, right? For example, I charge $25,000 for my, group coaching, right? But if you were to bring me a client and I didn't have to close them in their credit card process, you get 25%. Right now, you're leveraging your time. You're creating a tribe and sharing things with them. This can also be a network marketing business that you choose to invest your time into. This can also be a franchise. So that's leveraged income, where you're still using your time, but you're getting exponential results on your investment. And by introducing the leverage piece into it, so what I've seen people go from active to passive if they're starving themselves in about 2 years to 3 years. If they do it with the leverage piece and strategic partners, they can do it 12 months to 18 months. But it's a mindset shift, right? It's the 80-20 rule. Because most likely a lot of what people are doing here is busy work, right? Just by being here and investing into yourself, getting this level of knowledge takes you from here to here. It exponentially progresses you forward. Now you'll go, okay, how can I create a book, right? How can I get around the right people? Maybe they have the opportunities that I can promote to the people that are already in my circle of influence. And you just create a relationship, you create an introduction. Let's use 10,000 for simplicity of numbers, right? If my course was 10,000, you make an introduction, it's a good fit, you just made $2,500 and you just made one introduction. Do you see the paradigm shift?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
So you said some pretty deep things. I think for this plan, it all revolves around the person who kind of has a sense of direction they're going. And I know we talked before about purpose. It's like when I'm working with so many people, you're in the world where you're probably surrounded by people who are already on their path and their purpose. I'm in the world where I'm surrounded by people who are dying inside because one, they're working in corporate America, or two, they're disabled vets, and they're just dying to know how to live this life, to find their purpose. And you said some key things like the things that you're thinking about, what are you willing to live for, or die for, what are to look at your challenges. I was wondering if there was anything else that you had.
So the other biggest one that I talk with my clients about is reverse engineering. What is the result that you're trying to create? What does your extraordinary life look like? See, for me, I love three things. I love amazing people, I love amazing food, and I love amazing places. So for me to design that life, will I live it tomorrow? No. Like, let's say if I'm starting, right? Just like Sean was saying. The reason why he gets to live this life now, because he's put in the work, right? You still have to put in the work, but there's an easier path if you have the mentors and the guidance, right? Where they can just tell you, okay, do this, this, and this, versus trying to figure it out. See, trying to figure it out, it actually creates the greatest time suck. And part of what the Millennial Success Blueprint is meant to do is this. Because most of the life goes like this, right? And that's what I would have the highs and the lows. I said, well, if I can only capture the high and not let the lows affect me, right? By connecting with my inner circle, what I ended up starting doing is this. Even if it's a slower point, but instead of taking the dive every time, let's say even if I slow down, but now I'm right. Like for example, let's say I'm down and I had a bad deal. One of the people that I'm going to call is Sean and say, hey Sean, what's going on? What's really cool going on? Oh, I have an event. I'm just using it as an example. Would you like to speak? Sure, great. Right, and now instead of going here, I'm starting to rise again and rise again. Right, it's all about momentum. It's all about not having those lows, because the lows is what kills your averages and kills your time.
I'm going to actually elaborate on that a little bit more tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Not right now. There's a piece that I'm going to do tomorrow morning that's going to elaborate on that. Some of you guys have seen me draw it out and do it before. Some of you haven't. Some of you have done a piece of it. We're going to do a piece of that again. But one of the number one things that I've seen over the years, when people don't know what their purpose is, it's they've lost their own ability to even dream. Think about when we were kids. We wanted to be anything and everything we could think of. Today I want to be an astronaut, tomorrow I wanted to be a professional baseball player, the day after that I was going to be the president, right? And as a kid we 100% believed that. That's what I was going to do. Somewhere in our life journey, and for everybody it's different, we've lost the ability to dream. We've lost the ability to literally sit back and say, what is it that I truly want? And then as Alexi's talking about now, how do I reverse engineer it in the sense that that's the destination, and now I need to figure out how do I get there. When somebody says that they don't really have a purpose, they can't really find their purpose, a lot of it is their own belief system of not wanting to kind of be free enough because of the constraints or the world that they've been used to. It's kind of collapsed onto them to say, oh, you would never be the president. But if that's what you want, right, then allow that to be the dream. We can start to put a plan behind that. Will you achieve it? Can't say for sure, right? But that's a lot of times that's the first step, is just getting somebody to even realize that, hey, the constraints are off. What do you want? Once I get them seeing something, now we can start to go, okay, what's the real likelihood that you'll ever be the president, right? What does it take? Let's go more logical now. What does it actually take to be the president? Okay, I guess I don't really meet those logics. But you see how now they can start to help craft their own vision? But it starts with their ability to even be able to be free enough to dream and start to even spit it out, because they shoot themselves down. I bet, TJ, a lot of the people that you work with, they have something inside them, but they say they're lost because they're too afraid to actually say what it is that's inside of them. Because they're afraid. Who stood up here yesterday and said, was it you? And said that I'm just afraid of what people would think of me. That's an epidemic across everybody. So many people are afraid to stand for what they believe in, or do what they, or go after what they truly want, out of fear of rejection of everybody else. Well, I'm not going to do that because my parents think I'm crazy. I don't want to do that because my friends will leave me. I don't want to do that because my significant other doesn't think that same way, and I don't know if it's going to create tension here. So I'll just shut up and not even do it. And you got to get, when you're working with those individuals, you got to really push them to listen. Let's go to what was the movie Happy Gilmore, right? Go to your happy place. Design your happy. What is it? What does it look like? And I'll get a little bit deeper into that tomorrow with kind of what's really happening logically and why we experience it and how do we break away the chains a little bit. We're going to do a little, what I call a wheel of life and a commitment to ourself exercise. I think you guys have done the wheel of life piece, right? It really kind of helps open that up a little bit and gives you more of a visual to be like, whew, that I can create it, but I got to fix this now to get there. Okay?
If I may, I wanted to add a quick piece to that, is that you guys have to realize one thing, right? Me and Sean began where you were. What you're seeing is you're seeing the result of the hard work, right? Us putting the time and doing, what we love. But we all, for me, I completely agree with you. Part of the reason why my old business was designed with me being the best kept secret, I wanted my private life. I made, in business development, I made another 7 figures, but I wanted to be behind the scenes. I didn't want my name out there because I wanted to be private. Well, when this vision showed up, God said, good for you, get out there, right? And for me, right, because I've dealt with depression, I've dealt with suicidal thoughts, I had to ask myself a question. Is my ego more important than the life that I'm about to save? And see, that's when that belief is destroyed. Because my ego was big, but it wasn't worth enough for me to allow somebody to die. And are you open to some feedback?
Absolutely.
Okay. One of the things that I've heard you say is this, and language is very powerful. You said you don't have anybody in your surroundings that does this, and yet you're here. It's a mind shift. You have your pride already. You have your lines. We have your back. You have people. It's what you choose to focus on. Will you choose to focus on those that don't or those that do? An even better question is, maybe that's part of your path, is to be the light for those that are still blind. To me, one of the best quotes I heard from Robert Kiyosaki when I started this journey of personal development was this. He said, become who you seek. And at that time, it now no freaking sense. I saw it on this TV special that he did. And then I watched it again with another friend. And I watched it again with another friend. And by the 5th time, it finally hit me. I was looking for a teacher. But I became a teacher just by sharing his content to others. They were a step or 2 behind me. This is what I created without even knowing. I created students. By you helping maybe others to start to find their journey, maybe that becomes your journey. Right? Your biggest problem becomes your biggest opportunity. And if you have a hard time figuring out, do you think there's others that might have the same problem? Just something to think about.